Tell me what has happened. Why are you so set in this hard anger?
Creon, dear. Actually, it's plotting again. He charges me with the murder of life.
Has he some knowledge, or does he speak from hearsay?
You're not going to himself with such a charge. He's getting that damnable soothsayer to tell his story.
Set your mind at rest. If it is a question of soothsayers, I tell you that you will find no man whose past gives knowledge of the unknowable. Here is my proof. An oracle was reported to Laius once, that his doom would be death at the hands of his own son. His son, born of his flesh and of mine. Now, you remember the story. Laius was murdered by marauding strangers where 3 highways meet. But his child had not been 3 days in this world before the king had pierced the baby's ankles and had left him to die on a lonely mountain. Thus, Apollo never caused that child to kill his father. And it was not Laius' fate to die at the hands of his son, as he had feared. This is what prophets and prophecies are worth. Have no dread of them.
A strange, shadowy memory crossed my mind. Just now, while you were speaking, chilled my heart.
What memory do you speak of?
I understand you. Laius was killed at a place where 3 roads meet.
So it was said.
Where did it happen?
At a place where the Theban way divides into the road towards Delphi and Daulia.
When?
We had the news not long before you came and proved the right to your succession here.
What net has God been weaving for me?
Oedipus, why does this trouble you?
Don't ask me yet. First, tell me how Laius looked, and tell me how old he was.
He was tall, his hair just touched with white. His form was not unlike your own.
Was the king lightly escorted, or did he ride with a large company, as a ruler should?
There were 5 men with him in all. One was a herald, and a single chariot which he was driving.
But who? Who told you how it happened?
A household servant, the only one to escape.
And is he still a servant of ours?
No, for when he came back at last and found you enthroned in the place of the dead king, he came to me and begged that I would send him away to the frontier district, where only the shepherds live.
Can he be called back quickly?
Easily, but why?
I wish to consult him.
Then he shall come. But am I not one also to whom you might confide these fears of yours?
Oedipus of Corinth is my father. My mother is a doll. I grew up chief among the men of Corinth until a strange thing happened. At a feast, a drunken man, wandering in his cups, cries out that I am not my father's son. I contained myself that night, though I felt anger and a sinking heart. The next day, I visited my father and mother and questioned them. They stormed, calling it the slanderous rant of a fool. And this relieved me, yet the suspicion remained aching in my mind. I could not rest. Finally, saying nothing to my parents, I went to the shrine at Delphi. The god dismissed my question without reply. He spoke of other things, full of wretchedness. Yet unbearable. As that I should lie with my own mother. 3 children from whom all men would turn their eyes, and that I should be my father's murderer. heard all this and fled. And from that day, Corinth to me was only in the stars, descending in that quarter of the sky. I wandered farther and farther on my way to a land where I could never see the oracle, the Edo sung by the oracle. And I came to this country. Therefore, you say, King Laius was killed. I'll tell you all that happened there. Later. The three highways coming together at the place I passed. And there a herald came toward me. And a chariot drawn by horses, with a man such as you described seated in it. The groom, leading the horses, forced me off the road at his lord's command. But as this charioteer lurched over towards me, I struck him in my rage. The old man saw me and brought his double goad down upon my head as I came abreast. He was paid back. And more. Swinging my club in this right hand, I knocked him out of the car, and he rolled on the ground. I killed him. I killed them all. Now, if that stranger and Laius were kin, where is a man more miserable than I, more hated by the gods? Citizen and alien alike must never shelter me or speak to me. Must be shunned by all. And I myself pronounce this malediction on myself. Think of it. I've touched you with these hands. These hands that killed your husband.
There is hope. You have yet to hear the shepherd.
If his account of the murder tallies with yours, then I'm cleared. Marauders, you said, killed the king according to this man's story. Well, if he maintains that still, if there were several, then clearly the guilt is not mine. I was alone. But if he says that one man single-handed did it, and the evidence all points to me.
You may be sure he said that there were several. The whole city heard it as plainly as I. But suppose he alters some detail. He cannot ever show that Laius' death fulfilled the oracle. For Apollo said my child was doomed to fill in. But it was my child that died first. No, from now on, where oracles are concerned, I would not waste a second thought on any.
You may be right. Let someone go for the shepherd at once. This matter must be settled.
I will send for him. I would not wish to cross you in anything, and surely not in this. Let us go in.
Let me be reverent in the ways of right.
Slowly, the path I journey on. Let all my words and actions keep the laws of the pure universe, from highest heaven and in down.
The tyrant is the child of pride,
Who drinks from his great sleeping cup, recklessness and vanity.
Until from his high crest, headlong he plummets to the dust of hope.
But let no fair ambition be denied.
May God protect the rest of all the saints who live near God, and on his ordinance wait.
Haughtiness and the high hand of disdain tempt and outrage God's holy law.
And then immortal man, who dares hold no immortal power in all, will be caught up in a net of shame.
Let each man take due earnings then, and keep his hands from holy things, and from blasphemy. Stand apart.
Else the crackling blast of heaven blows on his head,
and on his desperate path. Though fools will honor impious men,
In their cities, no tragic poet sings. Zeus, if indeed you are Lord of all,
throned in light over night and day,
mirror this in your endless mind.
Our masters call the oracle.
words on the wind, and the Delphic vision blind.
Their hearts no longer know Apollo.
And reverence for the gods has died away.
Our king is not himself. His noble soul is overwrought with fantasies of dread. Else he would consider the new prophecies in the light of the old. He will listen to any voice that speaks disaster, and my advice goes for nothing. To you, then, Apollo, I turn in prayer. Grant us deliverance from defilement. Our hearts are heavy with fear when we see our leader distracted, as helpless sailors are terrified by the confusion of their helmsmen.
News! I bring news!
Friend, no doubt you can direct me. Where shall I find the house of Oedipus? Or better still, where is the king himself?
It is this very place, stranger. He is inside. This is his wife and mother of his children.
I wish you happiness in a happy house.
I wish as much for you. But now tell me, why have you come? What have you to say to us?
Good news, my lady, for your house and your husband.
What news? Who sent you here?
I am from Corinth. The news I bring ought to mean joy for you, though it may be you will find some grief in it.
What is it? How can it touch us in both ways?
The people of Corinth intend to call Oedipus to be their king.
But old Polybus, is he not reigning still?
No. Death holds him in his sepulchre.
What does he say? Polybus is dead? Go quickly. Tell this to your master. Oh, riddlers of God's will, where are you now? This was the man whom Oedipus long ago feared so, fled so, in dread of destroying him. But it was another fate by which he died.
Why have you sent for me?
Listen to what this man has to say, and then tell me what has happened to the divine prophecies.
Who is this man? What is his news for me?
He has come from Corinth to report your father's death.
True, stranger. Tell me in your own words.
I cannot say it more clearly. The king is dead.
Was it by treason or by an attack of illness?
Little thing brings old men to their rest.
It was sickness, then?
Yes. And his many years.
Ah! Why should a man respect the prophets? They prophesied that I should kill Polybus, kill my own father. But he's dead and buried, and I'm here.
From now on, never think of these things again.
Yet, must I not fear my mother's death?
Why should anyone in the world be afraid? Since fate rules us and nothing can be foreseen, no reasonable man is troubled by such things.
True. If only my mother were not still alive. But she is alive. I cannot help my dread.
Tell me, who is this woman that you fear?
It is Merope, man, the wife of King Polybus.
Merope? Why should you be afraid of her?
An oracle of the gods. Apollo said through his prophet that I was the man who should marry his own mother, shed his father's blood with his own hands. And so for all these years I have kept clear of Corinth, and no harm has come.
And this is the fear that drove you out of Corinth?
Would you have me kill my father?
It's for that you must be reassured by the news I gave you?
Yes, and for that I would reward you.
I had that in mind. I thought I could count on you when you returned to Corinth.
No, I will never go near my parents again.
These are your reasons for not going home. Can you not see that all your fears are groundless?
When you say that, they're my parents, surely.
Polybus was not your father.
Not my father.
No more your father than the man speaking to you.
But you are nothing to me.
Neither was he.
Why did he call me son?
I will tell you. Long ago, he had you from my hand as a gift.
How could he love me so if I was not his?
He had no children. His heart turned to you.
What of you? Did you buy me? Did you find me by chance?
I came upon you in the crooked path of Kisyrus.
What were you doing there?
Tending my flocks.
A wandering shepherd?
Yes, but your savior, son, that day.
From what did you save me?
Your ankle should tell you that.
Oh, stranger, why do you speak to me of that childhood pain?
I cut the bonds that tied your ankles together.
God. Was it my father or my mother who did it? Tell me.
I do not know. The man who gave you to me can tell you better than I.
It was not you who found me, but another?
It was another shepherd gave you to me.
And who was he? Can you tell me who he was?
I think he was said to be one of Laios' people.
You mean Elias that was king here years ago?
Yes.
Is he still alive? Can I see him? Does anyone here know this shepherd he's talking about? Have you seen him in the fields or in the town? If you have, tell me.
I think the man he means is that same shepherd you've already asked to see. Perhaps Jocasta could tell you something.
You know anything about him, lady? Is that the man we've summoned? Is this the man this shepherd means?
Oh, I think of him. Forget this, husband. Forget it all.
How can you say that when the clues to my true birth are in my hands?
God's love, let us have no more questioning. Is your life nothing to you? My own is pain enough for me to bear.
Not worry. Suppose my mother a slave and born of slaves. No baseness can touch you.
I beg you, listen to me. Do not do this thing.
I will not listen. The truth must be made known.
That is the only word I have for you now. That is the only word I can ever have.
Why has she left us, Oedipus? Why has she gone in such a passion of sorrow?
However base my birth, I must know about it. The queen, like a woman, is perhaps ashamed to think of my low origin. But I cannot be dishonored. For I am a child of luck! Though I do not know the man, I think I see him coming. This shepherd we want.
I know him. He was Laios' man. You can trust him.
Tell me first, you from Corinth. Is this the shepherd we were discussing?
Test.
This is the very man.
Come here. No, look at me. You must answer everything I ask. You belong to Laios? Tell me, what kind of work did you do for him?
I was a shepherd of his most of my life.
Where mainly did you go for pasturage?
Sometimes Kisyrus, sometimes the hills nearby.
Do you ever remember seeing this man out there?
That is not strange, my lord. I'll refresh his memory. You must remember when we spent 3 whole seasons together, March to September, on Kisyrus or thereabouts. Yes. You had 2 flocks. I had 1. Each autumn I drive mine home, and you would go back with yours to Laios' household.
Yes, but that was all so long ago.
Well then, you remember back in those days that you gave me a baby boy to bring up as my own?
What if I did? What are you trying to say?
King Oedipus was once that little child.
Hey, hold look. None more of that. Your tongue needs watching, not this man's.
King, my master, what is it I have done wrong?
You have not answered his question about the boy.
He does not know. He's only making trouble.
Come, speak plainly, or it will go hard with you.
God's name, do not torture an old man.
Come here, one of you. Bind his arms behind him. Did you give this man the child he speaks of?
I did. Would to God that I had died that very day.
Die now unless you tell the truth.
If I tell the truth, I'm worse than dead.
Very well, since you insist upon delaying.
Oh, no! I told you already I gave him the boy.
Where did you get him? From your house? From somewhere else?
Not mine, no. A man gave him to me.
Is that man here? You know whose slave he was?
For God's love, master, do not ask any more.
You're a dead man if I have to ask you again.
Then it was a child from the palace of Laius.
Slave child? Or a child of his own line? I must hear.
They said it was Laius' own child. But your wife can tell you of that.
My wife. Did she give it to you?
My lord, she did. She told me to get rid of it. There had been prophecies. It was said that the boy would kill his own father.
Why did you give him over to this old man?
I pitied the baby, my king. I thought that this man would take him far away to his own country. He saved him. But for what a fate. For if you are what this man says you are, no man living is more wretched than Oedipus. True. All the prophecy. All.
Now, O light, must I look upon you for the last time? I, Oedipus. Oedipus. Damned in his birth, in his marriage, damned, in the blood he shed with his own hand.
For the seed of men.
What pleasure shall I give these generations that breathe on the void and are void?
And exist and do not exist.
I, who saw your dead, call no man blessed.
Your great days like ghosts gone.
Blind I was, and cannot tell why.
Asleep, for you had given ease of breath, a fool, while the false years went by.
Your splendor is all fallen.
That mind was a strong bow. Deep, how deep you drew it then, hard archer, at a dim, fearful range.
And brought dear glory down.
Divine King,
Giver of laws, majestic Oedipus.
no prince in Thebes ever had such renown.
No prince, once the grace of power.
And now, all men ever known. Most pitiful is this man's story.
Fallen to a low slave, Bound under bitter fate. Oh, understood. Too late.
Citizens of Thebes!
I think neither Istros nor Phasis, those great rivers, could purify this place of the corruption it shelters now. The queen is dead.
Oh, your costs are dead. But in whose hands?
Her own. When she had left us, in passionate silence, passing through the court, she ran to her apartment in the house, her hair clutched by the fingers of both hands. She closed the door as if behind her. Exactly how she died, I do not know, for Oedipus burst in, moaning, and would not let us keep vigil to the end.
So we are watching the rewinding of Oedipus Rex, and I actually found a little bit more information written on the can, surprisingly. Omnibus Productions 1957 TV show. So this is a kinescope where they set up a camera on a monitor, and they had, you know, a switcher production, and it was going out live, but this is a way to capture it for distribution later, or if it was, videotape was very expensive at this time, and really wasn't viable for television. So this was a way to preserve something, and to then make copies and distribute it. So the fact that it's British means that it was 25 frames a second when it was broadcast, and so capturing it at 24 frames a second was super easy. There wasn't a full telecine thing that they had to do, which you had to do with US stuff. So yeah, we are rewinding, and we are getting to the point where I am going to be visible. Here I am. Hi. I'm Skip Alzheimer of AV Geeks. Thanks, guys, for joining me. I'm trying to look at the camera and not look at the various controls in front of me, so it doesn't look like I'm that distracted. But anyways, as you can see behind me is a telecine. The dynamics of this is not like a mirror. There's a telecine that's rewinding. I'm actually playing back the film. This is the can right here. It's a very stinky film. It's vinegar film. I think I got this from a local university that was getting rid of a bunch of films they just had in a closet. And so this was something that was probably shown on television. So thank you for joining me. You know, not being a fan of Game of Thrones, I had no idea that tonight is the finale of Game of Thrones. So, oops. So I'm happy to have the people that are watching this. I will have an incentive. If you stick around for the end of my broadcast, which should be, I don't know, between 9:30 and 10, I will give you a special bonus thing. Let me go get it. I can't find it. Where is it? Oh. I got it. Where it is. What we will do is, at some point, I will announce what you can do for me to send you a free AV Geeks sticker and a free AV Geeks condom. So more information about that. Is that an incentive to not watch Game of Thrones? I don't know. You know, I know people love the show, so I can't fault them for that. But so I apologize if you have to make the hard decision to either turn me off or watch Game of Thrones tomorrow or in an hour after I'm done. Anyways, so tonight was something I've been wanting to show again. Last month we did Gas, films about gasoline, and there were some surprising, fun things in there that I'd always wanted to show, but had never had the opportunity. I didn't think that if I did a local screening and showed films about gas, that people would show up. So the fact that you guys showed up from your living rooms or wherever and watched these films, it was really great, and we saw some interesting stuff. So today's show is Jobs for Girls, and these are films that were aimed at young women who were looking to get into the job force from high school. And most of them were designed to be shown for women before they get married and before they become homemakers. So they're like temporary jobs in a way. So we're going to get started with a great film. And not only is it great, I don't know if you can see this, there's a smiley face in the can. It's embossed in the can. It's pretty cool. This is purports to be a real footage that was hidden footage that was shot, but and it shows 3 women having job interviews, and it's supposed to, by example, show you what to do and what not to do, but mostly what not to do. The idea is you show this, a vocational guidance counselor would come to your class and talk about, right, so this is what you do at a job interview. You know, it's a life skill type of thing. So, and this is upside down. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Huh. Wow, okay. Well, we're not going to show that. That's kind of wacky. All right, well, I have to rewind this. In the meantime, I'll show another film. That's what happens when we pull films, and I guess I could watch them beforehand. But what's the fun in that? So let's get back to that. Let's see. What do we got here? So I got this film, Looking at Tomorrow, What Will You Choose? I'm going to watch that. And this kind of explores, you know, what are your options? What are things that you can do? Opportunities. And you can see I am actually threading the film. So we were actually watching the film. I'm not just putting a disc in or whatever. I'm actually threading this puppy up. All right, so here is what was the name of that? Looking at Tomorrow, What Will You Choose? Enjoy.
choose. There are no limitations on whatever you do. A choice to make, a turn to take, path to follow, a dream that flies oh so high. Looking on.
You know, everything you're doing today is a step into the future, a future that is yours to choose. I'm Congresswoman Yvonne Brathwaite Burke, a member of the Representatives from California. When I was 12, I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I did feel that I wanted to help people. So I kept my eyes open, I listened, and I learned. I learned that as an attorney, I could help to get judicial decisions that would improve people's lives. And as an elected representative, as I was when I was in school, I could contribute leadership. Being first an attorney and now a congresswoman was what I chose, what I was looking for. More and more, women as well as men are discovering and pursuing jobs that they like. They're discovering that the possibilities are everywhere. Let's look at a few examples. Job choices some women have made. Debbie Barrera is in the International Bricklayers Union, one of its first women members. Her job is a vital part of the construction trade.
Construction's a wonderful field for a woman. Really it is. It's exciting to be part of building something, and it's always new, you know. You learn something different every day. I worked in an office for a while, but I felt like I was just one of a million girls with typewriters. I wanted to be an individual. I wanted to try something I really liked instead of what was expected of me through tradition. So I called to find out about the union's apprenticeship program, and they accepted me. I guess everybody saw I was really eager, but nobody thought I'd make it. But I can do the work, and I love it. It's hard work, and sometimes it can be really dirty bricklaying or caulking like I'm doing today. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm independent, and I'm good at my job. Working outdoors is great. The wages are about 4 times what I'd be earning in some office. And because I'm in the International, I can go anywhere. Really, there are just about no limitations on what I can do. You can't be yourself if you don't try things. If I hadn't explored, I wouldn't have found my trade, and I'm really glad I did.
Fine crafting is not only a job to Peggy Shipman, it is also a labor of love and art. She is one of the few women violin makers in the world.
One of the things I really love about violin making is that it's extremely old world. The craft has existed since 1600, and it's stayed pretty much the same. It's a very constructive occupation. Nothing is torn down or destroyed. Everything we do makes something better, whether it's repairing a fine old instrument or building a brand new one. I was a music major in college and played cello, so I came to know the difference quality workmanship makes in an instrument. As I learned more and more, I began to realize what a goal perfection is. I started work at our shop 4 years ago, and each day it's been an education. Everyone in the shop shares what they learn with everyone else, because we all share the desire to do beautiful work. There's a tremendous joy in working with one's hands. The feeling of manual dexterity, that wonderful smell of varnish and glue, the texture of wood under your fingers, the use of tools. It's actually exciting for me to see new woodworking tools. We collect them all our lives. Really. We could have them wall to wall, and it still wouldn't seem like enough. Like old art, These instruments gain beauty with time. There are so many nuances to violin making. It's like music itself. I'm happy that I can create things that will outlive me, beautiful things that will last.
Betty Bonner is one of several women framemen for a telephone company. She connects and disconnects customers' telephones at the main lines and terminals.
When I was looking for work after high school, most girls were becoming teachers and nurses. I worked for a long time in customer service for the phone company, but when jobs in the frames became available, I jumped at the chance to change. Some girls don't like this kind of work, but I like it. Each day I get to work with my hands. I use solder and tools and ladders, and I get to see results. It's challenging, and I like the way I feel tired when the day is over. Going from white collar to blue collar is a switch, but the money is much better, and I have a greater chance for advancement now. Still, I'm lucky. Some companies don't have a training program like the one I used. The best way to be able to choose what you really want is to get a good education. Then you'll have the chance to really look around.
Growing to a management position with a large company has been exciting for Grace Trujillo. As an employment representative, she interviews men and women and places them in jobs for her company's worldwide offices and installations.
Never underestimate what you can do. I was working in a factory, and I didn't have much confidence when I first applied here. But if I hadn't tried, I'd still be selling myself short. I knew some had succeeded, and I said to myself, there's nothing wrong with me. And they hired me. I started as a secretary, but I tried to learn about everything that was going on around me. I took college courses. I volunteered for special projects. And I was moved up.
I was told that really I'm not ambitious enough.
Don, thank you very much for coming. Really? It's easy to succeed if you're willing to try. Now, I can understand what candidates are experiencing when they come to apply here for a job. And every day I find it so true that you give yourself a real head start for any job if you have some ideas about what you want when you're young. Then you have time to find out the best way to prepare and the kind of education you will need. My judgment is valued by the company. They consider me a specialist, and that makes me feel real good. It makes me feel good to bring the successful applicant and the employer together to make a match, and that's nice.
Today, everything's so exciting. The art world is open to everyone.
In addition to being a freelance fashion illustrator, Camille Higgins is a self-employed businesswoman. With her partner, she owns an art gallery and design company.
I decided to become a fashion illustrator when I was about 10. In my free time, I was always drawing. I got a lot of encouragement from my parents, and my school counselors helped me choose a good art school. I was always in constant pursuit of my art. I knew what I wanted, and I went after it. To be successful takes a lot of hard work, practice, and perseverance. Having my own business was always my dream, and that takes even more hard work, dedication, and very long hours. Because we weren't born into the business world, my partner and I are having to learn everything from the bottom up. But it's been fun.
I mean, here it has been developed through weather, and this is just natural. The animal.
When you please a client, when you know you've worked hard and done well, it's very rewarding. I'm growing more and more confident every day, and the combination of my art and my business as a form of personal expression has made me very happy. It's a challenge, but then you can't allow yourself to be afraid. You'll always regret anything you don't try.
Sedans 39er Whiskey, runway 7, taxi position, hold traffic landing.
As an air traffic controller with the Federal Aviation Administration, Jane Martin combines her love of aviation with technological training to direct air traffic in landing, takeoff, and flight patterns.
0 degrees at 8. Cherokee 670, hold short of the runway, landing traffic. I remember when I was 6 or 7 years old, we'd be out for a drive, and I begged my father to stop at the airport so I could watch the airplanes. I was fascinated by flying, and after I finished college, I saved my money and took flying lessons. Flying brought me into contact with people in air traffic control, and I became so interested in that aspect of aviation that when the Federal Aviation Administration started hiring new controllers, I didn't let the opportunity get by me. I applied and made it. Every day there's something new and different. The facility here has both tower and radar positions, and we work in both places. We get good training, and I really like the work. There's a lot of responsibility, but it's a challenge. It's up to us to separate and arrange aircraft within our airspace. It's sort of like a three-dimensional chess game. You need to know about the weather conditions and be able to handle emergency situations. You have to be alert, but it's really nice to learn that you're capable of more than you thought.
I feed into the computer commodity availability and prices and the proper balances of nutrients. The computer replies with the best possible combination.
As linear programming manager for a large milling company, Donna Goodhart uses computers and a knowledge of animal science to formulate livestock feeds.
I never thought when I was in junior high that I'd have a career in animal science. I've always loved animals, but I was really a city girl. In high school, though, I found out that I could get training in a college degree while working with animals. College courses in animal science covered the whole chain of events involved in raising and utilizing livestock: nutrition, breeding, care and grooming, marketing, and even economics. All of these factors come into play in the job I have now. I'm responsible for coming up with the most economical combinations of ingredients for the production of all kinds of livestock feeds. It is satisfying to work in the field for which I studied, and it's rewarding to be one of the first women in a managerial position in agriculture, and the field's really expanding. But mostly it's good to know that I am, to some extent, responsible for the health and the well-being of animals.
The women you have just seen are doing jobs that they like. It wasn't just luck. Think about it. You can find out a lot about jobs. That's something everyone wants to help you do. Your teachers, your counselors, businesses, and unions. Everyone will benefit when you give yourself a chance to discover the job that is right for you. New jobs are created every day. New skills, new minds, and new people are always in demand. Use the time now to learn what you want and to learn how to get it. You can make school work for you. That's really what it's all about. The future is waiting. The choice is yours.
Looking at tomorrow. Looking at tomorrow, what will you choose? There are no limitations on whatever you do. A choice to make, a turn to take, a path to follow, a dream that flies oh so high. Looking at tomorrow, looking at tomorrow.
70s films that have original music are always great. Always seems hip. So I know someone talked about lip sync issues with the film, and that is something I am actively still trying to figure out, like what's causing that. It's a setting, some sort of keyframe setting that I've been messing with. So at some point in the future, because it goes back and forth, so it's really weird how that happens. So I apologize if that's distracting and annoying. You know, we're embracing more than 100 years of technology here, and of course, any point in that 100 years, something could fail horribly. Like the color in that last one, the color faded to beet red from probably ectochrome. So the dyes that were not red, basically blue, green, just faded away. And so we're left with everybody garnet, purplish, rosy. There's different descriptions. If you buy films on eBay, you'll see people describe films beet red, faded. And this is not to be confused with vinegar syndrome, which is a totally different thing. Which that last film, the Oedipus film, which was black and white, had vinegar syndrome, where the acetate was breaking down to acetic acid, which is super stinky. It smells like vinegar. I have lots and lots of films about for job, vocational stuff, and I have ones that are meant for general audiences, but I wanted to try to hone in on the ones that were made for young women, because that was, you know, as we got towards the 70s and 80s, it was clear that women were in the workplace. They were seeking careers. It wasn't about being homemakers anymore, which is a job in itself, but they were actually seeking more, and so the films and the teaching talked about that and addressed that. So that first film I put on a bench and rewound it, and so this is, the leader is red, which traditionally the head of a film has green leader and the tail of the film has red leader. It's like a warning that this has not been rewound. But as I saw, it was backwards, or it was upside down. So I don't know. I'm going to put this on, and maybe it went both ways. Maybe it's upside down both ways, and somewhere in the middle it got spliced wrong, or who knows. Live film transfer. And it's upside down too. So that's upside down as well. So somebody spliced somewhere in this film, probably at the beginning, like a big chunk fell out, and so they spliced it together and they spliced it wrong. So I'm going to have to put this back on a bench and rewind it, and maybe I can figure out where that splice is and fix it while you watch another film. Hilarious. Alright. Has to be fixed sometime, so might as well do it while we're live with several people from across North America watching other places. And thanks for people on Twitch who are watching. That's really great. Okay, so this film is, I have not seen this film. This is very exciting. The title of this film, as we actually have the program notes, is Career Explorations, Modeling Careers, Entertainment. So this might have some dudes in it, but it's primarily targeting young women who aspire to be models. You know, it might be irresponsible to make a film and show this to general audiences and say, like, oh, you can be a model, because it's such a... I don't know. I think that career is for a limited set of people that look a certain way, and that look changes from generation to generation. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how they sell this. But there's others in this series, including eye-related stuff, careers, architectural careers, newspaper marketing careers, general insurance careers, marketing, cosmetic industry careers, textile industry, and the school counselor. So you can get a job being the person who shows these films. All right, so here we go. Career exploration. Enjoy.
Sit down. I'm interested in becoming a model.
What's your name?
My name is Lily Yang.
Lily Yang? I'm Mrs. Stamp, Lily. You're interested in a basic modeling course?
Oh, yes, I would be.
We have a 12-week course, and this consists of a class in diet and exercise, 4 classes in walking, 5 classes in makeup.
Have you been following your diet sheet?
Well, yes, but I find it hard at times.
It is, but if you get into a routine of doing it, it becomes part of your day. You become you feel much better. For one thing, if you get eating proper foods at the proper times, you can work much better, and everything will just work out from there.
Let's say you're with a group of friends and you decide to go to a restaurant or somewhere else to eat, and everyone's, how it is, they order chips and a Coke or something like that. What do you do?
They're not modeling. You are.
At the end of this time, you go into review. Your review is viewed by Betty Milne, the head of the agency.
I wish that there was a really nice, easy, magic formula about what makes a good model. There are a lot of simple rules of thumb, physical prerequisites where a girl falls into categories or types, and this will follow the sort of work she will do. The usual ones that you have a junior, and her height would be 5'5". Height is tremendously important in a model. She can be 5'5" as a junior, which means it's rather 17 magazine. She's cute, and she smiles, and she's got great white teeth and round eyes.
Well, we scheduled you into the class tomorrow night, and we'll see you then.
Oh, 6:45, isn't it?
The next category is about 5'7". You call her a Missy or a junior miss. And she has the same kind of face, a little more mature. She looks about 22, perhaps. And then you have, which is always considered the best of all possible worlds, or the top echelon in a model, the sophisticate. And she should be anywhere from about 5'8", 5'10" now, 5'11" even, with very hollow cheekbones and a more exotic sort of face.
Now, girls, before we start our 10 posing classes, I'd like to find Linda?
Well, I guess it was about a month ago now. I did some work for a photographer friend of mine, and he suggested that I take a course, so here I am.
And how about you, Connie?
Gee, I guess ever since I was old enough to first start reading a fashion magazine, I had a dream of becoming a model. When I finally had an opportunity to move to a larger city, then my dream could come true.
Great. Lizzie?
Started with a little bit of modeling in Copenhagen, and I came over here about 1 year ago.
To become a successful model, you need talent, appeal, and training. A reputable school of modeling will assess your potential and choose your courses.
Lizzie, how are you coming along on your diet?
Since your physical appearance is of primary importance, it must be properly cared for. You will learn to sit, stand, walk, put on makeup, dress, sleep, and eat. Many girls hope to become models, and although only a few of them actually succeed, the training received is valuable to any girl regardless of her final profession.
Hello, girls. Welcome to your first of 5 makeup classes. My name is Dale. Would you introduce yourself? Okay. Could we have Christina on the scales first, please? Yeah, push them down forward. That's it.
118.
Okay. And Janice?
110.
Okay, good. No one has a weight problem. Okay, tonight we're going to go into proper skin cleansing. We'll get to picking out your foundation base and probably a powder. Most of you are probably using soap on your face now, which will not get into your pores and clean out the modeling slap that you'll have to use. So you'll have to invest in a cleansing line, which includes the cleanser itself, the astringent protection cream, which goes on before your foundation, and a night cream. Okay? Now, the way to use your cleansers are in the direction of these arrows on the diagram.
Some models have become famous as personalities, and maybe strikingly unusual, but these are rare. You must learn to be versatile in looks and attitude to adapt to the type of job. You will depend at times on aids such as hair pieces, spectacular makeup, false eyelashes, and many other secrets models use to look beautiful.
Darkness under there. Now, the shading is worked under the bone. Bring it up and around. What do you think, girl? Fantastic, Joanna. Your clips. Well, you all look like that in a couple months. Keep practicing.
The number is 681, available in 29 different colors of leather, as well as the color you're seeing right now.
The wholesale clothing showrooms employ the most models. Fast changes, attractive poses, the ability to show the clothes to their best advantage, along with some knowledge of the merchandise, may all be required of the showroom model. But along with this comes steady employment in many cases, although it could also include some typing and answering the telephone.
And this is available in many different colors.
There are many different types of modeling jobs. There are runway models, photographic models, showroom models, catalog models, and models for television commercials, even if only their hands are used. In your best times, you may be working 18 hours a day. You may also go 3 months without a job. The pay can be very good, but it is rarely assured. Another factor to consider if you are interested in making a career in modeling is that your working years are limited. A model who keeps her looks may work up to the age of 30.
Loretta, you're down there, Patty. Come in here and get Loretta, please. Now, David, go right up in here, you see?
Catalog modeling is the bread and butter of the trade. It requires many different kinds of models. Children, teenagers, sophisticates, men, older women, all sorts, who must stand on the set without moving and put across the look of whatever they might be wearing. Out of each 6 shots, 5 must be good. This is important because the customer never sees the actual garment, only the pictures in the catalog. The main purpose, regardless of the type of job, is to sell. Clothing, cosmetics, cars, food, just about anything. To do this, you must not override your work with your personality. The public should be more interested in the product than in you.
Okay, let's try it once more, eh? Remember, now on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Most people wonder what an agent does, and that always reminds me of the Hollywood image in grade B movies, that we're villains and we take 10% and that's all an agent does.
When is the audition?
I suppose most important part of your job is getting the girl work.
Hello, Betty Mills. Hi, Les. How are you? Good. Yeah. Tomorrow? Location?
Yeah.
Okay, where are you doing it? Scarborough Bluffs. What is it, fashion? Reasonably high fashion? 2 girls and 1 man. Okay.
You have to send it to the right people who would probably like her type best to begin with. Once she starts getting her feet wet and gains a little more confidence, it becomes much easier for her. But it's most important how you sell her.
Somebody with dark hair for a good contract.
Then, of course, you look after her negotiations for her money, because talent is very bad at that. And you look after her bookings, more or less traffic managing her day. And there are so many bits and pieces as to what an agent does for the model. She sort of has a place to come home to, I suppose.
Who was in here the other day that had longish hair? Ellen Jordan was good. Robin Ward. Did you see him in Spring Fall? He's really good.
They told me it's just fine today. Just a minute.
How are you?
I got the models in today. We're probably going to have to shoot them anyway. Would you hold on for a minute, please? Hi, Joanna. Hi, Claudette. Well, look, we're going to have to probably take the shots anyway today. The weather is bad, but we may have... Did you bring the panned outfit?
Oh, yeah, I've got it right
brown one. I think the van is coming. Let's get going, man.
Oh, look, it's clearing up.
Hey, too bad, eh? Wow, it's going to clear up.
Although some of the jobs are exciting, others are dull and tedious. It is all work. You will require a specialized knowledge of how to deal with the photographer, or the fashion coordinator, or the salesman to come up with the image he wants to put across. This can cause quite an emotional strain, switching from one personality to another, sometimes in a matter of minutes. Physically, too. This begins to show in a model after a few years.
Actually, I do enjoy modeling. Well, I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. I think most girls get involved in the sense that they find it very difficult once you really establish yourself and get going to find anything to, top it. There are certain jobs that all of us do not enjoy. For example, doing fashion shows. Nobody can possibly imagine what goes on behind the scenes. That is, where we change, where we put on our makeup, etc. During a fashion show, we have approximately a minute to change. Take your clothes off, plus get into the other one. You have approximately 3 dressers, and there's millions of people backstage. You have hairdresser, you have someone to dress you, you have the shop owner there, etc. And it gets very confused and very congested. And I have to say I've experienced a few fashion shows where it's been almost humiliating in the sense that you are so much of a mannequin. You are nothing more, nothing less than a mannequin. I mean, you are to show the garment to the best of your ability. It doesn't matter who you are, what you feel. You have to sell that garment. It's not you that's important, it's that garment. Where am I going to get you a drink from?
Okay.
How's this?
Oh,
How do you like my special?
They're ridiculous.
They have to be ridiculous. I have to exaggerate it. You know.
Yeah. Get the hair.
Yeah.
You
No,
made it.
really, you have to.
It'll make you look good.
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, just bring the orange one forward. Yeah, can I have my hat, please, monsieur?
I think I'm in love with you.
Don't lie to her.
I've never seen anybody look like you do right now.
Bye.
It's been great.
I think most of us get involved in the feeling that we have during photography, the rapport we develop with the photographer. We're not limited. We just constantly project whatever you feel in that certain garment, as opposed to being limited solely to selling the garment. You can express what you feel, and it's beautiful.
She's got to be one of the most responsible people in the world. She still has to be somewhat creative. She has to be malleable in taking direction, and she has to have the stamina of a dray horse. And this is so incredibly true, because you're drooping and all of a sudden you pull yourself together because you've got to look absolutely super. Most girls going into it don't realize this. And my advice to any girl who wants to go into modeling, she must realize that it is a full-time career and accept so many of the responsibilities involved in it, and that it is very hard work.
So I don't know if that was, I'm going to rewind it. I think it was, but somebody built, you know, you're Canadian. This is shot in Canada. Yeah, 69. So 1969. We'll watch this in reverse because it was awesome. You know, this was probably just before the beginnings of the supermodel. I don't know my supermodel history, but it seems like the early 70s is when you had women who were getting insane amounts of money. Christy Brinkley, Cheryl Teague, Cindy Crawford, of course. But yeah, it's interesting to see these films. There's like I said, there's a whole series, and I have another one called Cosmetic Industries, and it's also kind of looks at people that are in either beauticians or hairdressers or people who work in the theater or movies, but also people who design cosmetics. It kind of looks at that whole industry. So it's kind of interesting. So I think I found the splice. I think I fixed it. with that film that I've been wanting to show the last 2 times. We'll see. We'll see how this works. It's kind of hilarious. All right. One more time. Give it a shot. Oh, so here's some questions for the Modeling Careers Entertainment. Education and work. What kind of educational and personal background do you think would be helpful in becoming a model? What school courses would help? How do runway, catalog, showroom, and TV commercial modeling differ? Which is most interesting to you? Why? What are the hazards and limitations of a modeling career? How do you feel about these? And then some things you can do is you can consult a classified telephone directory for a listing of modeling agencies. Where I grew up, that would be none. There wouldn't be any. Visit several and talk with models about their work. Attend a fashion show. Observe backstage preparations. Watch a model work with a photographer. Question her about her role. Make surveys of careers related to modeling to find out their requirements. Fascinating. You can write to your state Department of Education and the American Model Foundation, P.O. Box 100, it's in New York, or the Modeling Association of America, which is in New York City, of course. So, there you go. Modeling careers. Alright, so, again, this film is... I have other copies of this film, which is why I'm kind of flummoxed by why this one seems to have problems. This one purports to have 3 women in job interview situations, and we get to see what they do wrong. So here's job interview 3. Wait, where's the... Not to find the can. Job interviews 3 young women.
How does a company decide who to hire? The man who must choose is the employment interviewer. His name is Jack Waldemeyer. His job is to be a good judge of people. Today, he must find people to fill trainee jobs in several departments. The people he chooses will be considered for specific jobs, but the first step here is called a screening interview. This morning, Jack will interview 3 young women who have answered the ad for trainees. They will not know they are being photographed. As you watch, imagine yourself in Jack's place. Can you choose the people you would hire? You can hire 1 or 2 or all 3. After each interview, you may want to stop the projector to note each thing you find favorable and unfavorable.
Yes, Dorothy, will you send in the first applicant, please? Thank you. Come in, please. Come right in, Mr. Nadja. How are you?
Fine.
Care place. Is it all right if I call you Susan?
Uh-huh. Fine.
You don't mind?
No,
Good. Keep you waiting long, Susan?
No,
Not too bad?
No.
Find some magazines out there?
Uh-huh.
Good. Good. Some good ones, huh?
Yeah.
Well, Susan, what we're going to try to do is to fit your qualifications in with some of the jobs that we have. So what I'd like to do is go back into high school.
Okay. Well, I had a business major.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 4 semesters of typing. And in the business major, they had, you have your required subjects in high school. You have to take history and math and your English. Then I did have a business English. And business machines, that was with adding, working mostly with the adding machines.
I see.
And a salesmanship class. And that's just about all that they covered in the course for that.
Now, Susan, you mentioned typing. How many words per minute can you type?
Well, when I was in high school, it was from 45 to 55, but now I can type 60.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And how's your accuracy with that?
I'd say 60 with not more than 4 errors. That's all.
I see. What other business machines did you work with then?
They just had the adding machine.
Just the adding.
That's all. They had the electric ones, and then the one where you had to pull the handle down, punch the keys. And then...
Your first job, what did you, how did you find that? What kind of work did you do and things like that?
Well, to me, it was too much routine.
Oh, what were you doing?
I typed cancellations when people didn't pay their premiums on insurance. And it was the same thing every day, you know, just typing names and things like that. So it wasn't interesting after a while. If you thought that you had to be there for, you know, till you retired, you'd go crazy. There's too much monotony in it.
How long did you work on that job?
For 6 months.
6 months. Did you give them a notice then when you left?
Oh, yeah, 2 weeks.
Then you went a short time and you worked again as a sales girl, I guess.
Yeah, I tried that. That was interesting.
I'd like to hear about it.
Yeah, that was over at Robertson's. That's a department store. And I thought it was real interesting, and you could learn a lot just from the people themselves that came in, and about how, you know, you see a different side of it. Like when you're in a store, you don't, you know, you see how you are when you're buying. It was quite interesting, I thought, working with people.
So you really preferred that job a lot over the other job, didn't you?
Because you don't have so much routine, and then you meet people, all kinds of people, and they tell you things. You always get into a conversation with them mostly, you know. And then it's sort of a challenge because you get to talk to them and see if you can try to sell this product and change their mind, see if you can really do it. So it's real challenging.
Sure.
If you have an interest in it, you know. Anything is if you have interest for it.
Sure. And then you went to this other job, and this was strictly a clerical job? How long were you there?
I worked there for a month.
Just a month?
Well, I didn't get along with my supervisor.
Oh, didn't you?
No.
What's the matter there?
They seemed to, well, at least she did, always think she was right all the time. And if anything went wrong when I was first working, you know, first you have to learn a lot of things. And she was, didn't take enough time with me to catch on, because everything has to be done a certain way and things. And like I said, when you're first out of school, it's hard to adjust to all this because you're more or less on your own.
Sure.
In school, you don't have, well, you have your teachers telling you what to do, but yet you do things the way you want, but then when you have a job, you have to do what they want.
I see.
You don't do what you want. So we just didn't hit it off too well.
Sure.
So.
Now, you mentioned before that you had a fair attendance record in high school. How's the attendance record and punctuality on the job?
Oh, that's good, too, because I'm usually always punctual. I am.
What about wages? What do you consider a fair starting wage here?
Well, since for my, you know, experience and qualifications, I'd say about $2.95.
Susan, why do you really want this job with the company?
Well, because typing's my skill, and that's, if I do go on to continue an education with clerical, I think it would be good.
You don't think the typing would bore you like it did on the other job?
No.
Hi, Tony.
Hi.
Jack Waldemar. You want to hang your coat there? Lay it there? You can hang it on the coat rack.
I'll just lay it.
Have a chair.
Okay.
How are you today?
Fine.
Good. Let's just start out back in, say, high school. Some of the subjects you took, grades you received in these subjects.
Okay.
Okay?
In junior high school, I was in Hawaii, my
No.
9th grade year. So I took basic courses. I never was one to take business or anything that I didn't have to take. And then in high school, I only went to 10th grade.
Quit that early.
Yeah,
Any reason for that?
to get married.
Oh, really?
That sounds crazy, huh, it is? Now that I think about it, if I had it to do over, I would have, stayed in school and not gotten married until I may be 50 or so.
50 or so.
Yeah.
Are you still married?
Mm-hmm. It's not what I expected, of course. I expected all fun and no hard work, but it's a little bit of both. Now that I really think about it, I wish I could go back to school, I guess. I wish I could be 16 all over again. Do it all over.
How old are you?
17.
17. So what have you been doing then since you quit school and got married?
Just hanging around.
Just hanging around, huh?
Yeah.
Haven't been working at all?
Well, I've been trying to. Since I quit school, nobody, wants to hire me because they just walk in the office and I say I don't have a high school diploma, and they say, well, I'm sorry, hard.
Have you thought about getting your education now?
Oh, I thought about it a couple of months ago. Thought about going to night school, but then the day I was supposed to start night school, we moved, and then I just perished the thought. I figured, well, now I don't have to, and think about some other time.
Do you have any specific goal? What would you like to do if you were working?
I'd like to work in an office where I wouldn't have to type, and I could just answer the phone and take notes, and I can clean and everything. I've had experience in doing that. Cleaning in houses and offices and stuff like that, and I can do that. I can do a lot of things, take notes, answer telephone, and that's basically what I want, a little bit of everything, not just sitting there filing or sitting there typing or sitting there answering the phone, I want a majority of things because I like to run mimeograph machines.
Do you?
Yeah, and I love to work with machines.
I would like to ask you one thing. If, say, the company did have some regulation on grooming, dress of the people, would you have any objection to possibly changing your way of dress? In other words, maybe possibly calming down a little bit?
You mean, well, no, because I've been told that before, like in that little office, I used to wear black nylons. Now, I didn't know that in an office, well, there was older people, so they didn't like it, so they told me, and I quit wearing black nylons. If they don't want me to wear bright orange or dangly earrings, I won't, but, this is just the style, so, because I haven't been working, so I really don't have nothing to base my wardrobe on. I just go out and buy what I see and I like.
Sure. Well, Tony, would you really, if you had to say that you had any skills, what skills would you say that you really had to offer a company?
There's not really much that, I can really say, or maybe that's why I can't get a job, but, I do stuff, and if they show me how to do it, I'm willing to do it, but like they say, most of them don't want trainees. They want, people who already know, or, like...
Well, go ahead.
Like went through bookkeeping or something in school where they, where they can get the facts, how they can do it, like that. So, I guess it's hard, yeah.
Come right in. Have a chair. Let's just start out back in, say, high school. Some of the subjects you took, grades you received in these subjects.
Well, in high school, I had a business course at first, and I dropped out of the business course simply because I felt that it wasn't for me.
How's that?
Well, I just, like I love music, and my mind really wasn't on business at all because, I was young at the time. And I just didn't care too much for school. I just loved to be around music. This is all that I ever, ever wanted to be in.
at that time
Uh-huh.
until I got older and found out that music wasn't going to get me anywhere unless I became an entertainer.
Uh-huh.
And right now, I'm just working. You know, I'm
Uh-huh.
looking for work because
I
I
see.
really need it
Mhm.
until I get myself really established in a good job,
Mhm.
and then I just use entertainment, you know, as weekends.
Mhm. Well, that would be nice.
Yeah, it sure would.
Let's see now. You do have one child.
Yes,
Uh-huh. And who takes care of the child then when you're working?
my mother.
Did you graduate from high school?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Uh-huh. Want to tell me about that?
No, I'd rather keep it to myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. How far did you go in high school?
Oh, I went all the way except 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
I just dropped out because I was having trouble.
Uh-huh. Did you get your high school diploma then afterwards?
No, I'm planning to go to night school
Mm-hmm.
to finish and get my diploma.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, you've actually been away from school for a couple of years.
Oh, yes.
And you really haven't done anything constructive in getting the diploma?
No, I haven't.
Mhm.
No more than just saying that I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm. How about
That-
spelling?
Spelling? Well, now there is a subject that
Oh,
I
really?
didn't care too much for,
Uh-huh.
but I am trying to improve
I see.
an awful lot.
Uh-huh. What are you doing towards that?
Well, I have a spelling dictionary,
Mhm.
and then in my spare time I go to the library and read up on a lot of things, and, you know,
Mhm.
have my mother, most of all, along with my sister, to give me spelling tests and different things like that
Oh, good.
to help me out.
Uh-huh.
I feel very strong, you know, that I can accomplish it. I'm not going to let it get me down.
Yeah,
You know, I'm going to conquer
Mhm.
it.
Sure. How was your attendance in high school?
Well, it wasn't too good.
Oh, really?
No, it wasn't.
Uh-huh.
Off and on.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, what I mean by off and on, my father was sick in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And like my mother, she would leave sometimes, you know, in the evening, and she wouldn't show back up at home until about 9 or 10 that next morning.
Mhm.
And someone had to help, you know,
Mhm.
with paying the bills and keeping house while she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And since I was the oldest girl, you know, she
Mhm.
appointed me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And this what affected my high school.
Oh, I see.
You know,
Well, that was kind of rough then.
it was. It was terrible. And then knowing your father's sick and
Mhm.
you don't know whether you're going to eat the next day or not, you know,
Mhm.
this is the thing.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, you worked at the department store, I see.
Yes.
That was, you want to tell me a little bit about that job?
J.C. Penney's.
Mm-hmm.
I worked there, you know, I was doing maintenance. I was doing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of office work. And then I ran the elevator
I see.
part-time. Up and down, carrying things out and bringing things in.
Mhm.
It was just, you know, like on and off work, all around work mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that.
How was your attendance record there? Look,
It was very good.
it was very good there.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Just one day that I missed,
Mm-hmm.
and that day I was sick.
I see. That was just for a short time you worked there?
Yes, just for
Mhm.
Christmas.
I see. They couldn't carry you any longer?
No, they couldn't.
Mm-hmm. Was this the agreement when you were hired?
Yes, it was.
I see. Sounds like you enjoyed this work.
I did.
Mhm.
I really did. You know, I love to work around people, and
Do
I
you?
love to be with people.
Oh, that's
I
true.
really do.
Dolores, do you have anything on your mind that possibly you haven't told me that you feel would be one of your best attributes?
Yes, I like to see a letter that I've typed
Uh-huh.
and see how far it really goes, you know, and different things like this.
Gives you a good feeling, doesn't
Yes,
it?
it does.
That's
When
right.
I was working for my uncle, I typed a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And it went to Hawaii, and he got an answer back. And he asked me to, you know, correspond, and I did. And it made me feel so good because I knew that I had done something worthwhile.
Now the interviews are over, and Jack must decide. If he hires someone, he must have good reasons. The company will spend a good deal of money to train them. If there is someone he doesn't hire, he must have good reasons for that, too. If this were your job, whom would you hire, and why?
So who's it going to be? Susan, Tony, or Dolores? It seems like there was a lot of positive feedback for Tony. Dolores went all the way through high school except for the last 2 or 3 weeks, which is unfortunate. I don't know. You guys vote. You folks out there vote. Who would you give the job to? It doesn't matter what the job is. You can pretend like you know what the job is. Maybe it's a career in modeling or something else. Air traffic controller. What do you think? Start rewinding here. Hey, again, I'm Skip Alzheimer, and we are watching films for girls who are looking for jobs. This showed up in one of the cans. It's a film video evaluation report, and we could rate this film. We can basically, your assistance is needed to help us keep our film collection current. Please complete the statements below. And then we have a couple of options here. Content useful for instruction. Out of date, replace with new film on same subject. Content is no longer applicable. Man, I am having problems tonight. To instruction. Withdrawal. And then finally, condition poor, replace or repair. So here's your options after we've decided who we are giving a job to. Is the film itself, is it useful for instruction? Is it out of date and should be replaced with something more current? Is content no longer applicable to instruction? Withdrawal, condition poor, replace, or repair. It's interesting. So I haven't had to go through this because I don't have a job. But I have talked to people who are, applying for jobs, and it's getting harder to get people to call them back and actually have job interviews like we just saw. The landscape has changed so significantly on both sides. So what's happened also is that in some areas, some fields and places, there's not enough, there's too many jobs, and so somebody basically ghosts. They say they're going to show up for a job interview and they don't because they found something better that they think is better. So they don't even bother to say like, hey, I'm not coming. They just don't show up. So it's getting to be very different. Plus, doing job interviews over internet is very different than being in person. So all these things are changing. So I would vote for out of date, replace with new film on same subject. Although I would say that there's some strong points in this film. It still teaches us a lot about get a job. The one with the 3 young men is even more hilarious. Maybe I'll do that jobs for boys at some point. But all right. Okay, so those of you that are watching now are either in a coastal time where Game of Thrones has not come on, or thank you for sticking with me in spite of the Game of Thrones series finale. Again, I promise you that before the end of the show, if you stick with me, I will give you a secret password or a secret way so that you can get a AV Geeks sticker, which a lot of people put on their laptops. Some people have stuck them on their cars, and they're good for about a year before they turn black. So there you go. It's not bad, right? And ta-da, never get this right. Ta-da! An AV Geeks condom. Look at that. Who'd have thunk it? Why did you get an AV Geeks condom made? I don't know. It was really a kind of wild hair. It was like the internet in the 90s. You were like drinking a bunch of coffee and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy something crazy. I mean, which is what got me to where I am, is like repeatedly, I'm going to buy something crazy types of things. All right. Next film. And, yeah, so there's going to be a lot of red films. It's either going to be black and white or it's going to be red. I don't think a lot of these films, I think the color just faded. And the people who made the films didn't really think to care to put them on a stock that had better color. It was like, this is a limited time frame, a limited niche group, very ephemeral. You know, people show this for 5 years and then we'll make a new one. And so that's why the film stock just fades, is they just didn't invest in something that mattered if it faded. Or, you know, they were banking on a school just buying a new copy. Like, it would get shredded, so a school would just go ahead and show something else. Or buy and just, like, reinvest. Okay, so this next film is called Jobs for Women. Where Are You Going, Virginia? It's made through J through 8, which I think is juvenile through adult. So, here we go. Enjoy. Jobs for Women, Where Are You Going, Virginia? Hold on. There was a thread in here. 1 second.
Virginia Carter, 18, high school dropout. Up early, lousy cup of coffee, and then the job. Every day, the same old routine. It's a big nothing. Virginia Carter, working hard and going nowhere. Day after day after day. It adds up to a lot of days, a lot of years. How about trying something else, Virginia? How about a really good job somewhere?
I'm looking for a better job. I'm working at a laundry, folding napkins, and I think there must be something better.
Something better. A job for someone who wants to go somewhere and be something. It's not easy. Sometimes it's like one big muddle. Sure, there are jobs, plenty of them. But how do you know which is a good one for you? Well, let's begin at the beginning and try to make some sense out of this world of jobs. First of all, you've got to find out where you fit in. So let's talk to somebody who knows what's going on.
How do you feel about talking? Do you think you could sell anything to anybody?
I'm not a good saleswoman.
What do you mean you're not a good salesman?
I don't have the patience and go.
Well, right now you're really selling yourself to me, aren't you?
I'm trying.
Well, this is all a part of it. And don't you think that if perhaps you was familiar with the product, do you think you could sell it? You know, if you really felt sure about it, you're sure of yourself, and you knew what you were talking about, wouldn't you even try?
The important thing is to help Virginia pick a job that fits her, and a job that will help her get where she wants to go. Usually, you begin work at a low level and move up as you gain skill and experience. For example, in the retail field, Virginia could begin as a stock clerk, then work as a merchandise clerk on the floor where goods are sold. She then could go into actual selling, and finally, she could become a buyer.
Yes, this is the only color for this number. No, I'm sorry. We have this in gray also. It's right here.
Never mind. I don't really like this one that
You
much.
don't like that?
No,
All
I think
right.
I'll just.
You like the plaid
I like the tweed better.
or the tweed?
Looks a lot richer.
Why don't we step back in the office and I'll write your order for you.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
Choosing a job for you is never simple. Some jobs are dead-end jobs that go nowhere, and others are jobs that really offer a bright future. It isn't always easy to tell the difference.
Do you particularly like working with people, or are you one of those who prefers to work with machines, you know, where they don't have to talk to anyone else, it's just a matter of pushing a button and this type of thing?
Another job family Virginia might consider is work that calls for people who like to work with people.
Sit all day. I like to move around.
Well, there are quite a few jobs available, Virginia. Some of them require additional training, not necessarily for your college training. How would you feel about working in a medical setting, in a hospital?
Exciting new careers for women are opening up in health, education, and welfare. In these fields, young women who are interested in helping people can find careers. Many new jobs in teaching and medicine are now available to women without college training. You begin as a nurse's aide or a teacher, or perhaps in a community action program designed to help the very old or the very young. Then, depending on how much training you've had and how much education you've picked up on the way, you can move into nursing or teaching or social work. For those who get a sense of satisfaction out of helping others, this job family called service jobs offers an exciting and rewarding life.
we need to make a plan. We need to say what we're going to do from this moment on. I said that we thought we would write some letters, first of all, to some of the local businesses and see what they have available, asking for the types of jobs they do offer, what the qualifications are, salary, this type of thing. I think maybe we can go into the clerical field. And of course, there's always the Missouri State Employment Office.
Virginia, you came into the office looking for other kind of employment, and where are you working now?
I'm working at this laundry, folding napkins.
And what are your duties there? You fold the napkins. Is this by machine or is it by hand?
Well, I get them after they come out of the machine.
I see. Virginia, we do have a testing facilities here. I'd like for you to take a typing test for me so we can see how fast you type.
A good employment service will test her and help her find a good job. The first thing she has to do is to develop the basic skills she needs, like typing or operating office machines.
5-minute test on speed and accuracy, and you can begin.
This is one way Virginia can get out of that laundry.
You'll notice that the zeros are filled.
Many companies offer on-the-job training.
It's noted by the arrows at the top of the sheet. So you will punch it according to the way it's shown on the green sheet. The green sheets are the easiest kind to punch, of course, since everything is in the columns where it should be.
But first things first. Begin at the beginning. There are all those jobs out there. The trick is to find the one that's right for you.
Well, maybe what we need to do at this point is to think in terms of working out a plan. Where do we go from here?
It's a long road, and nobody says it's easy.
A little bit more about
But it begins here, finding out something about yourself. In the long run, it's up to you, Virginia. It's a choice. Nothing or something. Trapped in a laundry forever, or moving up and out into some place worth going to. How about it, Virginia?
Okay, so that was part of a series called the World of Work series, and this is something that we have shown films from this series before. It's it's targeted at African Americans in the late 60s, and it is showing them different types of opportunities. And this one is kind of a general primer, and you know, it's a little bit about like, look, you got to go to school, you got to get training, and the other films do that. They talk about what the work environment is like, and then at the end they say, you know, such and such graduated from high school, then went to a technical school and got a degree, or did an apprenticeship. And there's a variety of these different films. There's a great one on air traffic controllers. There's one on air stewardesses, which is really great. Commercial photography, franchise owner, visiting nurse. Lots of different things. So it's interesting to see others in this series. There's another one that's just called. It's basically a show producer, and the show that the woman is producing is this. I think it's called Soul, and it was like a popular, very short-lived, African American centric TV show that was on public television. That was really hip, had a lot of great musicians on it, and great interviews. So it kind of shows behind the scenes for the woman that's working on that. Where are you going, Virginia? All right. Let's see. What do we got here? I'm going to show this one. Other Women, Other Work. I don't remember seeing this one. So, I don't normally do this, but I'm interested in any requests for next month's screening. Think of a theme. Educational film-wise. Think about what you'd like to see. There's no guarantee that I will do it. Maybe we'll put it up for a vote. I don't know. I'm so fickle. You have all this equipment, all these films. I'm so fickle about what we want to show, really. Just listen to the people, Skip. Come on. Okay, so this next film is called Other Women, Other Work. Enjoy.
Someone who wants to fly for a living, you have to be a perfectionist. You always want to improve on everything you do. You just want to do everything not for anybody else's benefit now, just for your own, to be better. And it's something that doesn't wear off.
You check the weather for me?
When I was a kid, minorities never talked about being journalists. Black people weren't journalists. My parents are very surreal. You would think I was, making movies for Warner Brothers instead of doing the news for 3 minutes every night.
I remember my father would let me build things with him, but always when it came to sewing or something, he'd say, I'll do it for you because you might hurt yourself. It seems like the harder I work physically, the more energy I have at the end of the day. And on the days that I don't do anything and I just sit around, I have absolutely no energy. Another thing is I just love building things from scratch or ripping things apart and then building them up new and fresh. It just gives me the greatest sense of accomplishment to start with nothing and at the end of the day have a big wall up.
You don't really accomplish much. I mean, I can think of a lot of jobs where you'd have more of a sense of accomplishment. We don't have that because it's just the same thing over and over, taking a load here or taking a load there. I just like it. Come on, guys.
stake is supposed to have 2 nails in it. And that's to hold it down and prevent the wind from blowing it off mainly. Doesn't make any difference if it's 2 inches wide or if it's 10 inches wide. It still has to have 2 nails in it. And they want it about, pretty close to an inch from the side of it, unless it's too small. But this is FHA regulations. And then when you're putting it down, if one of them happens to split, which they do at times, it's a good idea to put a nail in where the area where it splits. And if it doesn't fit, you always just make it. You just chop it a little bit and make it fit. And it used to be, when I first started, that my husband always said, I want your work to where it runs into mine. I don't want them to be able to tell the difference. Now they can tell the difference because my work is better.
Most of the time they don't mess with you. They don't come up on the job, and they don't look over your shoulder. But when we'd show up on the job, he'd be there. The boss would be there, and he'd look. He admitted, he says, he's something about, what was it, you're the best door shingler in this county or something like that.
The cameraman thinks he's the boss. The writers, they want to be the boss. The editor, he wants to be the boss. Everybody wants to be the boss. In actuality, the producers are the boss.
You want to go that way rather than...
Oh, yeah, I think so. Because that is not terribly interesting a lot. Except, obviously, he'll tell
The
you why-
reporter is assigned to go out and interpret, but the producers decide if your interpretation is correct or not.
Okay, but fine. As it is, though, we're just going to try to get something quickly for the 5 or 6.
For the 6, yeah.
Okay.
And you come back in on Magnolia and the high school, this
Okay.
Indian thing is
But I'll be on the Pomona Freeway at this time,
no,
right?
no.
No?
No, it's a numbered road. I'm sorry the map isn't there.
Okay, I'll look it up.
You can't miss it.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
I mean, the other frontier is the ocean besides space. I mean, to me, one that can be explored both physically and mentally. Well, my own pet projects are with the giant kelps. I enjoy working with these organisms. They've been a neglected group, and yet they have a great potential economic importance, and they can also provide a number of problems that are purely theoretical and are simply mental exercises to deal with. Science isn't really as neat as the textbooks would have it appear, and at least not on its frontiers. And this is what makes it tremendously exciting. There's nothing, to me, that's more fun than weaving a tapestry out of the observations you make. From my experience, the worst sin that can be committed in any society at any time is to be different. And I think in the selection of a career, you have to decide which ones are going to satisfy you as a person. Because you're not going to be good at anything doesn't really satisfy you emotionally.
My grandmother used to bring me a lot of weird animals like possums and crows home. And we had goats, a few goats in the back, and some chickens, and raised rabbits.
I wanted to get your opinion about it being surgically removed.
He was talking about the third eyelid here?
Yeah, right, removing it.
Has it ever swollen up where it sticks out at all?
No.
Okay, let me just take a look. I'll look inside there and see what it looks like, too. At first, I thought of veterinary medicine as mostly working with animals, but I didn't realize before I actually got out into practice how much you have to understand and be able to work with. In fact, that's a major part of veterinary medicine, is just public relations and being able to gain the confidence of your client. Okay, that's a good point. It's not so much what you know, even though you might know a lot. If you don't come across to the client as really being confident and knowing what you're talking about, it's often not. So. Would you say the eyes are running any less than before? Or yes. They are? Okay, great.
Well, how much are you bringing tonight?
1,057, sir.
Oh, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
feel very fortunate for being paid for what I'm doing. Because I used to do it for free. I mean, I didn't have any money, you know, other than what I was making to live on. I couldn't afford to buy time in the Twin Beach. That flight, that's $125 an hour as an instructor. So I had to figure out other ways to fly. And the way I could do it was to fly for other people, or wash and wax for airplanes, or do bookkeeping, or do something that I knew how to do already to utilize the airplanes. So I was a secretary in the daytime, and I flew the Twin Beach at night, from 10 to 3. And once you try it, it feels good. It feels beautiful.
Meadows Ground, Red Wing 55, taxi IFR Los Angeles.
Red Wing 55, roger, taxi runway 30 right, wind 050 degrees at 5, altimeter 3006.
Red Wing 55.
Red Wing 55 is cleared as filed, direct lake Q's. Climb and maintain conditions on top. The F-0 on top at 9,000, maintain 9,000 and advise.
A Twin Beach isn't a real light, feathery airplane. You kind of have to push it around and manhandle it. It's not an airplane that you can be dainty with. The airplane's going to fly, and you better be thinking ahead of your airplane. You can't come to an intersection and say, oh, I'm here, what do I do? You have to know that you're arriving, and you have to have your heading planned for your turn, or your, like center tells you to descend. Well, you descend, of course. You trust everybody to a degree, and yet you question everything they do. Because what if their radar goes out? You keep a question mark in the back of your mind all the time, waiting to see if that's the way it's going to be.
The thing about surgery is you go in and you do something, and right after you do it, you see the results. There's definitely a change. While in medicine it takes like maybe a week, it might take 3 weeks before you see the animal get better. It's a challenge in that it takes dexterity, and things that are difficult, I get more of a feeling of accomplishment after I've completed them, just because it was difficult.
Check the cat. Just go under the drape and check its heart rate. Okay.
When you've been working with a pet that's been sick for some time, or an animal that you have been taking care of for some time, and this animal gets a disease where it's very, very sick, and there's a question about whether or not this animal is going to make it, it's very difficult to tell the client this. It makes you feel like you've sort of failed this animal, but in a way it just lets you know too that medicine can only go so far, and there's a whole lot that we can't do.
First, when I walked in and said I wanted to be a creator, they just laughed and they said, do you want to apply in the office? And then I told him my experience, and he said, okay, come in here and fill out this application. And he handed me the application. It was divided, and it said skills, male and female. And under male, it had, do you drive a truck? Are you good with power tools? And do you know anything about handling fine art? And under female, it was, do you type, do you do stenography, and do you know anything about fine art? And I said, this is really sexist, you know, and I refused to deal with it. And so I handed it back to them.
As I went through school, it was made clear to me that a woman's role was in the home, and there are tremendous pressures to get married and have children. You have to meet these, and some of these crises are really very agonizing. And there are times still now, as an adult, that in my worst moments I feel that the world was created by white males for white males, and that women almost have no place in a professional career. Now, this isn't true, but there are times when you're depressed that you can feel this way.
Yes, Warren, before I left, I didn't have a chance to talk to the 11 o'clock producer. Are they interested in a track for the 11 o'clock news?
Now, I seek out women's stories and minority stories only because I feel like if you're a woman or a minority, you have a certain amount of expertise being that. And why not use it to your advantage, because that's what news is all about. Getting information, getting facts.
I just sat home waiting. He'd be gone about 4 days on a trip, and just all I did was wait. And when I used to be a toll collector, I'd see women truck drivers go through every now and then, and I really thought it was great for them to be driving. We haul shrimp, lobster tail, flounder, halibut, turbot, French cookies out of Long Island, chickens out of West Virginia, octopus one time, frozen octopuses.
Everything looks all right to me.
We stop about every, 150 miles, check the tires. And that's really important. If you have a blowout, it's going to be your life, maybe. So you got to make sure you have plenty of rubber. I went to truck driving school. Took 4 weeks. It was pretty hard, but then I had my license. I still had a lot to learn. I've thought of quitting, but I think now if I had to stay home like I used to, I wouldn't like it.
Darn this train.
I wouldn't want to go back to working in an office where you have to dress up every day and worry about not wearing the same outfit, twice in a row and outdoing all the other women. I just like it a lot better. Suits me better.
You can try doing it with them in the background.
Right.
If you don't get a lot of reaction from them. Or you can do it with the dancers in the background.
Why don't you do it as he's walking in?
Well, they give me one shot, though. That's the only thing.
Well, you can
If I
do it
blow
in one
down,
shot.
I'm dead, right?
Can't you do it in one shot?
Well, I did that. Well, I was very confident until last month I said one shot.
And it's kind of a funny relationship, particularly if you're a female, because men usually don't like you to tell them what to do. So you have to be very careful. You have to tell them and then act like you're not. That's hard.
Well, do it with the dancers in the background.
The last time a major candidate spoke here at the Sherman Indian School was in 1968. The candidate was Bobby Kennedy. Nothing much has changed for the Indians, but the candidates are back. This time it's the Democratic vice presidential candidate, Sergeant Shriver. Petitions are... Nothing much has changed for the Indians. Is that an editorial remark?
I like minority stories. I like being involved in urban affairs. I like issues like welfare and housing and consumer fraud and the whole business. And I have to be very careful because people tell me things and I'm really turned on. I want to say, wow, you have suffered an injustice because you are a minority. Let me take up your case. You can't do that. You have to say, well, okay, this is what happened to you. Now, let me take a look at the other side. And you have to make sure that you have a clear picture of what happened, and that's what you put on the air, not what I would like to have happened.
Ready?
Okay.
We're rolling.
Last time a major...
Maybe I'll be a producer. Maybe that's where it's all going. I mean, I don't see myself as a television reporter for the next 50 years. Yeah, because being a woman, you're all washed up after 40. Only the men can stay around until their hair falls out.
Phil, Sergeant Shriver is so late he's decided to bypass the Sherman Indian School. The best I can provide you with is a press conference at the Ontario airport. Are you interested in that?
I don't know. I think the average reporter read a lot of Superman comics, and they all think they're Clark Kent. And they rush into the phone booth and rip off their clothes, and they come out the person who's going to bring you the truth.
Okay, goodbye. Everything today was a total bust, but we're going to try again tomorrow morning.
Mid-range 55, could you put the strobes on for me, please?
Then the only thing you have to worry about is the wind. Because if the wind is from your right, watch out for the turbulence from that 747. And if it's from the south, watch out for the guy on your left. And of course, you want to get down before he does if the wind is from the south. And you just push your nose down and bore at it. Get there before he does.
Roger, 55 is cleared to land on 25 left. Roger, thank you much.
But I want to get out of the feeling that I have to prove myself all the time, and just go out there and do it because I want to do it instead of doing it because I want to prove that I can do it and I can be as tough as a man. And I think it'll lead to more love in my work instead of doing it out of hate and proving myself.
Redwing 55, 11, turn in taxi to the ramp on this frequency. We'll see you in the morning. Roger, 55. Western 564, Los Angeles Tower, clear to land on 25, 40 degrees at 5.
All right. So lots of great stuff there. Again, women air traffic controllers. That's so fascinating that it keeps coming up. All right, so I mentioned if you are watching and you would like a special gift from AV Geeks, a condom and a sticker, AV Geeks sticker, limited edition, then send me this information. Can you read it? All right, so skip at avgeeks.com. In the subject, put condom and sticker, and then in the text, put your mailing address. So skip at avgeeks.com. Subject, condom and sticker, and your mailing address. And I will honor this until, I don't know, midnight tonight. If I get those, anybody that sends me that, I will send them those two items, plus maybe a special gift. I don't know. I'm feeling kind of. I mean, I bought custom condoms, like, so maybe I'll send you something else too. How about that? Maybe I'll send you something, a DVD or something. So yes, skip at avgeeks.com. Condom and sticker. Thanks for your support and watching. Thanks also for your ideas for upcoming shows. I have immediately forgotten the date. Let me look at my calendar as we rewind. The next streaming event is going to be in June, and it's going to be June 23rd. June 23rd, and I think I just did an initial search. I'll probably dig a little bit deeper, but food safety is an idea that somebody threw out, and I've got some great films on that. A couple of ringers that I know will be fun. But yeah, let's do that. Food safety. I found like 5 films, but there might be more if I dig a little bit deeper, of which a couple of those are real good. So learn about food spoilage, etc. And maybe I'll throw in a film or two about refrigeration. Depends on how I feel. All right. So, which one do I want to show you? I think I've shown this. You've probably seen this. But yes. This is a film. It was a management film made by for Alcoa, the aluminum company of America, and it was for managers on how to deal with women, and it ultimately is about management skills in general. And it's one of these open-ended films where you have to discuss at the end what somebody did wrong or right, and how they could have dealt with this. It's a wonderful film to show because there was a time that employed women were called girls. They weren't called women, they were called girls. Even though they were young adults, they certainly would be considered women. So this always raised the hackles of people when I show it nowadays. In fact, I ran into another film from the series that somebody had written notes on the outside, and it said that the terminology was outdated and sexist. So, girls. So here is a wonderful film, The Trouble with Women. And then I'll come back and we'll talk about next month. All right. Enjoy.
No, Betty, that's wrong. Let me show you again. You use this control to get your focus, you see? All right, and this one here in the right-hand corner to lock the sweep. There we are. Now let's try it again.
Oh, there's someone here to see you.
Are you Mr. Bradshaw, the foreman?
Yes.
Mr. Donnelly up in personnel said for me to give you this card. I'm your new bearings inspector.
Oh? Oh, well, now, I'll be with you in just a minute. No, one at a time. Well, I'll be back later to go over this with you, Betty. Just in the meantime, do the best you can. Would you follow me, please?
Sure.
Just have a seat here. I'll be back shortly.
Well, Mr. Bradshaw, what's on your mind?
Bearings inspector.
She's a good one, too. Just look at that record.
Okay, now, Walt, you've had your little joke. Give her to somebody else. I ask for a man.
We don't have a man with her qualifications. Seriously, Brad, if you treat her right, she might make you a darn good employee.
What do you mean, treat her right?
Get that chip off your shoulder. What's wrong with her?
She's a woman, isn't she?
Now, wait a minute. You got a lot of women in your department. What's wrong with one more?
Did you ever hear of the straw that broke the camel's back?
They're good workers, accurate, quick to catch mistakes, a lot of patience.
Yeah, but that comes out of books. I work with them, mister. I know what happens.
What does happen?
Well, it's a long story.
Come on now, tell me. What does happen? Maybe I've been misinformed.
Not so long ago, you sent me a girl by the name of Myrtle Malloy. Remember?
I remember.
As per her qualifications, I assigned her to an inspection bench. Well, in a matter of days, that bench looked more like her dressing table. And then came the day when... Joe, will you take your stuff back to table 9? That'll be your bench for the time being.
Okay, Chief.
Myrtle, we're moving you to table number 10.
Is something wrong, Mr. Bradshaw?
No, nothing's wrong. We just need this space for something else.
Well, I sure hate to give it up. It's been a nice place to work. The light's good here, and it's nicely situated right in the middle of things. I just began to feel at home.
Well, I'm sorry, Myrtle, but table 10 will have to be your work area for the time being.
You mean there's liable to be another change?
There's always that possibility.
Well, I certainly hope I'm not moved every other day.
With man, no trouble at all. Tell him what you want, and he does it. But with Myrtle, a little move is a big production.
Okay.
Now, wait a minute. You asked me, now let me tell you. Now, here's another problem.
Oh, Mr. Bradshaw, I wanted to tell you that the date is set for my marriage. I'll be leaving soon.
Marriage? I thought you just got engaged.
Well, I told you about it 6 months ago. We were only waiting till we could find a place to live.
6 months ago? Oh, brother. Well, how soon are you leaving?
Well, the end of next week.
Now, that'll really put us in a bind around here. It takes time to break in a relief girl.
Yes, I know it does. I wondered.
Why didn't you say something? I didn't realize you were getting married right away.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Bradshaw, but I really thought you knew. We've all been talking about it.
Okay, Brad, but how many blushing brides do you have? Besides, what's all this got to do with Dolly, the new girl? She's already married. And she's a qualified bearings inspector.
You know what I was doing when this new girl came in a few minutes ago?
No.
I was trying to cope with one of the biggest problems of all, Walt. Now, in your books, it comes under the general heading of absenteeism among women employees. Yesterday, I spent an hour and a half teaching one of our girls what she needed to know in order to start on the oscilloscope today. This morning, she isn't here, so I had to use somebody else. I don't think the girl we got on it now ever pick it up, so I'll probably have to find somebody else.
Question. All these things you've been talking about, marriage, absenteeism, personality problems, aren't they really just a part of life?
Part of a woman's life, maybe. But I can remember the good old days when there were all men in my department, and we didn't have these problems.
You didn't have the production output you've got now either. Look, Brad, you've got a new bearings inspector who happens to be a woman. You need someone, and there isn't a man available. It seems to me that whether the gal adds up to trouble or not is pretty much up to you.
So Brad is an ass. That's his problem. Such a great film. Bearings Inspector. With those qualifications. Yeah, there's quite a few in this series. Most of them deal with general managerial things. But there's a couple that deal specifically with women, and that's one of the good ones. There's another one, The Grapevine, which is pretty good. You can see that on YouTube. I have it on my channel. Anyhow, thanks everybody for joining us, and not watching Game of Thrones. Real recap, to reward those who have seen, who watch this live. If you email skip@avgeeks.com in the subject condom and sticker, you will get a special customized AV Geeks condom and sticker, and just include your mailing address in the actual body of the email. If you like AV Geeks and what we do, I might this summer try to step it up a little bit and do more than just a screening a month. Maybe we'll do a Friday, like a couple films a Friday. I don't know. I haven't figured that out, but I like to try to do something special. But to support our efforts, there is the Patreon. That's one way. It's kind of a tip jar subscription thing. Also, just tell people about what we do and share our links. If you are in the Triangle area, I've got some shows coming up. Tomorrow at the Alamo Draft House in Raleigh, we'll be showing Those Mischievous Lads, and it's films with kids, boys who are bad. Everybody loves watching films like that. Also, I'm showing that same show at Ponysaurus in Durham around sundown, so come on out for that. Then, what else? I think I'm going to help introduce John Russo, the guy who helped write Night of the Living Dead. He's coming to Raleigh at the Alamo. That's on Friday night around 9:30. And the next screening for this, I think we said, was June 22nd. Oh, man. Look at the calendar. June 23rd. Sunday, June 23rd is the next show, and it's going to be food safety. I found enough films that I think this is going to be great. And maybe we'll throw in something about refrigeration or some other food spoilage inhibitor. But yeah, thanks again for your support and for watching the films and talking about them. And we do this because that's what we do. We got these films, we want to share them, and so thanks for watching them and thinking about them and stuff. And so I will see you again soon. If I don't see you in the Triangle area, then maybe I will see you virtually via email or something like that. So thanks again. Everybody have a good night.